Good morning, Khushamadid. Well, this morning, Kushishe Bandit Austahar Kalevaim. Assalamu alaikum.
Gianu, Pakher Agale, Ni Hao, Tunashume, Washbale, Ohio Gonzaimes, Gutimogan, Ola, Boyor, Privyet, Kaifahal, Halishuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabia, Balli Kireaya, Hosh Galden, and thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching what this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, and the very brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be Miss Maheen Jaffrey, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is ready to kickstart their day with us. And then at the same time, we do hope and pray that everybody is actually doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us once again. Hello, Maheen. How are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum, Shahzad. I'm doing wonderfully well. What about you?
Well, I think I'm doing wonderfully well as well. You know, it's back to be on this sofa.
So good.
And it's because of the fact that for the last 2 days, ladies and gentlemen, we know what was going on within the country. So it was really difficult for us to kind of reach towards our offices as well. But before I kind of speak about that, I really need to kind of ask Maheen, what kept you busy for the last 2 days? What were you doing?
Well, these days, I'm kind of, awake. It's making me more conscious and anxious because of the things that we discussed. So I kind of discovered something that is organic and that helps your nerves to calm down.
What is that?
That is banana tea, Shahzad.
Banana tea?
Yeah.
I've seen scenes from drama serial Alpha Bravo Charlie where the cadets were actually kind of dipping their bananas into the tea.
Yes.
Is that banana tea?
Yes, that is
really?
Exactly that. You just have to boil with or without the peels.
Yeah.
Banana in the water, and then you have that because it is so full of potassium, magnesium, and another thing I think that helps in sleeping you, serotonin. I'm
really?
not sure.
So why would you want to have it early in the morning?
No, not early in the morning.
At night?
Yes. Right before going to sleep, you can have it, and that will, make you sleep better and regulate your sleep.
So why not having the bananas, just like that, simple?
Well, that depends on you, but tea I think is...
because you will still get that potassium, magnesium, everything, right?
But why would you want to put burden on your stomach?
No, I don't want to. I mean, it's not a burden. Banana actually helps you keep your metabolism going on as well.
Have that tea instead.
Okay, I think it's a lot of work. You boil the bananas, whether you peel it or not.
It just takes 2
but
minutes.
Still, how was the result?
The result was amazing. I actually felt that.
Really?
Yeah.
You feel on top of your...
Yes, I feel on top of the world. And right now even it's amazing because I just had 2 cups of coffee.
All right,
so
but ladies and gentlemen,
well,
if you certainly wanted to have banana tea, you can always kind of ask us or probably Maheen whether how to kind of make it, or it's simple. Just make sure that you put in the bananas,
and then you
in
can
some
eat
water,
the
boil
mushy
it.
Bananas afterwards.
Oh, come on, man! I think that'll be trouble because when there's that season in the where what happens is that the banana starts to get soft. Have you ever had that?
No.
I mean, what about when your babies were growing up?
Yeah, of course, we had to, mash them
up. But while, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about how Maheen actually is kind of feeling on top of this world, I think at this point of time, we really need to kind of share the top stories, what's happening all over Pakistan, and what's going to happen in the near future is something which we will be talking about. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with... I know that everybody have been speaking about the electronic voting as well, but there's this big news which came out as well, and that is that the National Assembly has passed Elections Amendment Bill 2022 to conduct pilot projects in by-elections before using i-voting and electronic voting machines in the general elections. Under the amendment in Section 94 of the Election Act 2017, the Election Commission may conduct pilot projects for voting by overseas Pakistanis in by-elections to ascertain the technical efficacy, secrecy, security and financial feasibility of such voting.
Now, under the amendment, Shahzad, in Section 103 of the Election Act 2017, the Election Commission may conduct pilot projects for utilization of EVMs and biometric verification system in the by-elections. And speaking on the occasion in the House, the Law Minister Azam Nazir Tarar rejected the impression that the amendment is aimed at depriving overseas Pakistanis of their right to vote. He said overseas Pakistanis are a precious asset of the country and the government does not believe in snatching their right to vote.
And I believe it's a perfect idea. We really need to kind of test the technology before we kind of put it in place as well. So, for each and every overseas Pakistanis who are out there, it's not like that we are taking your right to vote away from you, but it's probably more like that we really need to kind of test the efficacy and secrecy of it as well. And I think it's important for any government as well. But ladies and gentlemen, moving on where, the Parliament's joint session, government not to accept any dictation ready for negotiations as well. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the government is ready for negotiations but will not accept any dictation, adding that no one will be allowed to disrupt law and order in the country.
Now, speaking in joint session of the Parliament, the Prime Minister said the government has laid the foundation of transparent elections by introducing legislation, and he said the revival of economy is government's top priority. Congratulating Raja Riaz Ahmed over becoming leader of the opposition in the National Assembly, the Prime Minister assured him of his government's full cooperation in running business of the House in an amicable manner.
And I will definitely stand with the government on this as well, where obviously dictations are really not very warmly welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And when we talk about the sphere of politics, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's more about coming together, sitting together and looking for solutions. It's more about tolerance, and it's more about patience as well. We will come back to that, but today, ladies and gentlemen, a very sad news to share in the first place, where the legendary mountaineer passes away today, ladies and gentlemen, where famed Pakistani mountaineer Ali Raza Sadpara passes away. May his soul rest in peace.
Ameen.
Patience for the bereaved as well. Renowned Pakistani mountaineer Ali Raza Sadpara passed away in the wee hours at the age of 55. Ali Raza Sadpara had suffered critical injuries after falling from a mountain during a routine climbing practice near his village in Skardu. He met an accident while pre-expedition preparation of his K2 summer expedition and got severe injuries.
He was under treatment at the RHQ hospital in Skardu in Gilgit-Baltistan, where he breathed his last today. During a career that started in 1986, Ali Raza Sadpara had summited 178,000 meter peaks, including each one in Pakistan except K2. He has climbed many signature Pakistani 8,000ers multiple times, including Brot Peak and Gashambram and 4 times, and Gashambram 5 times, most recently last summer.
So a lot of prayers from all over the world and the country, ladies and gentlemen, for Sadpara Sahab as well. May his soul rest in peace and patience for the bereaved as well. And now moving on towards the world of sports, where, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief of Air Staff tournament actually kind of came to an end, and who actually got to lift the cup is somebody whom we know as the #1 tennis player from Pakistan. Pakistan #1 tennis player Akil Khan lifted the trophy of the 39th Chief of the Air Staff Khyber Cup Open Tennis Championship 2022. In the final, Akil Khan beat Mohammad Shoaib by 7-5 and 6-2 at PAF Officers Mess, Islamabad. Air Marshal Hamid Rashid Randhawa, Deputy Chief of the Air Staff, Pakistan Air Force, was the chief guest at the occasion.
Now, in the boys under 18 qualifier, Mahathir Mohamad upset top seed Sami Zeib in a thrilling final by 6-2 and 6-2 and won the championship. In the under 12, Hamza Ali Rizwan defeated Zohaib Afzal Malik by 4-2 and 4-1 in final match. In the men's double final, Akil Khan and Mohammad Awid defeated Mohammad Shoaib and Barkatullah by 6-3 and 7-6. At the end, the chief guest gave away trophies and cash prize to the winners and runners-up.
And that's it for the news, ladies and gentlemen, from all over Pakistan. And now it's about time that we kind of come back to where I have been indirectly pointing out that this is something which we will be talking about in the first segment. And Maheen, to be very honest, you know, for any person who believes in making sure that they are going to be great people, or probably who are destined to be great, they will always be tolerant, they will always be patient, because ladies and gentlemen, patience, I think, is a talent. And or probably, you know, there have been conversations with different friends where, you know, they say that, you know, it's by virtue. But I believe that patience is a talent, and not everybody is gifted with such a talent as well.
And if we talk about patience as well, Shehzad, I talk about critical thinking and, you know, coming up with the solutions to the conflicts. And it is so important for parties, if they are having any conflict, they should just come together, sit on a table, come up with some dialogue or solution to that. That is very important, along with the patience.
Exactly. And so adding on to that, ladies and gentlemen, you know, in the past couple of days, we have seen a lot of unrest over here in Pakistan. And to be very honest, I think what and I'm going to stand with my words as well, and it's because of the fact that, imagine that, you know, once you were constitutionally ousted, obviously I think what you really need to kind of do is to probably come down, sit together, and the government really needs to fulfill their tenure. Why do you think that the government really needs to announce that, okay, hey, you know what, just because you're out on the street, so we might probably kind of announce that the elections are going to take place sooner than they're supposed to be? I don't think that there's any space for that. And imagine that for somebody to kind of create that unrest has kind of given a lot of problems to the people of Pakistan. And this is something which I want the political leadership to think about. Not just that, imagine we were not able to come
Yeah,
to
we
work.
were
So,
not
you know,
able to,
imagine
yes,
for all of those
exactly.
days we weren't coming, we were not getting paid in the first place. That's a very meager issue. Imagine all of those students who were supposed to appear in the matriculation examination, ladies and gentlemen, the exams were postponed. The
Postponed,
Cambridge
yes.
exams were postponed. British
That is
Council,
sad.
thinking about the parents and the students, had to kind of cancel their exams as well within the Twin Cities. So imagine that all of this chaos has kind of resulted in, because right after the summer vacations, these A-level students were supposed to be in their universities, and if there's a delay in their examination, there's a delay in their career, and nobody has actually thought about it as well. And imagine, I mean, I'm very sorry, but I feel it
We
from my
all
heart as
feel
well.
sorry,
You know,
yes,
because you know,
Shazad.
imagine that if something has taken place constitutionally, how can you kind of challenge it?
And
And how can you be back on street saying that, or probably asking that, hey, you know what, we want elections sooner than
And the other
they're
thing,
supposed
Shahzad,
to
that
be.
is very important, it is not even the prerequisite of the government, it is the prerequisite of the authority to decide when is it going to happen. Plus, is it even viable to put so much pressure on the national exchequer right now with the ultimatum of like how many days? I don't know, 6 days. But rightly, as you pointed out, we all feel sad about the postponement of the papers of many students who wanted to, you know, go ahead in their careers, and this is kind of, you know, delaying their career.
And Maheen, not just that, I think, you know, what we really need to do is that we really need to look into, you know, how well they did manage while they were serving Pakistan as well for the last 3 years and 8 months as well. So imagine if you are asking for elections, rather than kind of talking about that, hey, you know what, we made these mistakes and we will kind of make sure that, you know, we're not going to make the same mistakes over
Exactly,
again.
yeah.
All you want is to come back in power, and that too at the cost of,
Young
you know, a
generation,
lot of
yeah.
students missing their school examination, a lot of people not making their way towards the hospitals and emergencies just because you took to the streets as well, and you know, people like us who were not able to come to work. So imagine, I think everybody needs to kind of think peacefully. Our Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif Saab has said himself that we are open for negotiations. Why not send a team, negotiate, and talk
flexible,
about
yeah.
whatever you
Exactly.
think is important or they think
Exactly.
is important as well. To talk about patience and tolerance, ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a motivational speaker and analyst himself. He is Mr. Tasadduq Gilani. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Walaikum Assalam. Good morning, Pakistan.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you,
Finally, you were able to make your way towards our workplace as well. Otherwise, it would have been a problem if it was just only 2 days ago or yesterday as well. So what do you have to say about the current scenario in the first place? And then let's bring in patience and tolerance as well. And that too when we talk about political leadership.
Yeah, actually, I would like to say that the people or the nations who have learned how to live together beside your conflict of interest or difference of opinion actually has become a nation. Like you go in Europe, they have differences, they have difference of opinion, they have different point of views, but they learned how to live together, how to accept the opinion of the other person. So the problem here is that we think that we are always right. So that is the fundamental mistake. So if I write here 6, I would say it's 6, but you will say it's 9. You are right, I am right. So this is the fundamental thing. We need to accept the other's opinion. Sometimes, I mean, psychologically speaking, we are thinking so hard that if you say or want to say your own point of view, I translate it in my way of listening. So actually, I'm not listening. So the thing is, we need to improve our listening skills. We need to improve our patience. And I would say that this world belongs to those who has patience and who has tolerance. And only strong people has it. Only strong people have these kind of features. So it seems that we are going to be the weaker people, weaker nation day by day. And the people who are contributing to this, even definitely leaders are not only political leaders, but every kind of leader here, they are contributing to it. I think we must put a stop to it.
Exactly, and at every level of the society too as well. And thank you very much for saying that. But to put it into a very different perspective, obviously if I write 8 over here, you will get to see 8 over there as well. But what I wanted to talk about was that imagine that when we talk about such leadership, when we talk about leadership in all facets of life as well, what really is going wrong within Pakistan is that people have stopped thinking about the country itself. Rather, they want to think and talk about the leadership in the first place.
the ideology.
So imagine that we are not talking about that the country we live in, but we certainly are talking about that one particular person or the other person or third person in the first place, and then keeping our country in the second place. We're not prioritizing. I think our priorities over here really need to be set again as well. How do we do that?
So first of all, my own translation of leadership is the following. So leadership to me is a journey from selfishness to selflessness. Exactly, right? Now, if you think about this sentence, you will know why we do not have the leaders. A leader cannot be a selfish person. He cannot think about himself. So I'm not saying it should be 100% implemented. It's not possible. We are human, you know. But the person who actually travels longer in this direction will become a true leader. So leader thinks about others, you know. The problem here is we started thinking that if I am not the one, the others cannot be.
True.
So this cannot be. I mean, you need to respect the people's opinion. You need to respect the tradition and law and
And
rules.
you cannot be know-it-all, you know. Oh,
Yeah,
mujhe
you
sara
can
pata,
never be.
mujhe sara
Yes,
pata. I mean,
Exactly.
you know, we are a population of 220 million people. You know, there might be somebody, okay, you know, if not smarter than you, at least equally smarter than you. You know, probably, you know,
And
there are
maybe your
people.
perception is not right.
Yeah, Mahi,
You
there
can
are
perceive.
people who are PhDs, double PhDs as well. You know, there are people who have studied day in, day out. There are people who have traveled all over the countries, all over the world as well. And even then, if you are to say, Bhaijan, sanu hi pata hai sara,
The
jera
problem
pata
is
hai, I
these
think
people
that's
remain silent, Shahzad. Don't you think
the
so?
educated one
Yes.
will always remain
Remain
silent, but I
silent.
think it's
Why
their
is
mistake.
that?
They really need
I
to
mean,
kind of voice their
leader.
concerns.
This is very important thing what you said is leader is a good listener. Is maybe a good speaker when it is needed, but it's a good listener because you need someone to listen to you, to understand you. You know, that is the kind of you may be the leader to the person sitting next to you. You know, this is one thing. And secondly, as you said, I mean, it's not PhDs, it's not MScs, it's not anything. It's about your wisdom. You know, knowledge you can gain from from education that you. But,
Wisdom
but
you can
the
gain from
wisdom
even
you
a
gain from
child.
your experience.
Yes.
You know, there's no shortcut to it. So the problem here is we are missing the training part of the whole story. Initially, it was at homes. Unfortunately, we have these machines, we have so many other things. So nobody has a time to sit with your young ones, and the vice versa. You know, they are engaged as well. So the thing is that we need to engage with each other. I mean, we need to put these devices away from us, and then talk about experiences. You know, I don't need to, go through another 50 years to learn something. I need to ask someone who has actually learned it, and then So this is the thing that we need to calm down first of all, and as I said, the strong people are usually very calm people. This is called emotional intelligence. You know, we are emotional nation. This is a treasure to me.
But are we
I mean,
emotionally
honestly.
intelligent? That's something
Yeah,
we could really
what I'm
look
saying
at.
is,
We're not.
we have this treasure already in our nation. The only thing is to give a direction to this emotion, and that here becomes the role of all those leaders, all those media people,
Visionaries or policy
you and me,
makers,
everyone.
yeah.
So tell them that how you actually listen to the other person. You can trust him or understand him well. You can decide not to believe him, fine, but don't insist on your things. You
Yes,
know?
exactly.
And don't think that you are the best.
You're the best.
So
Zid na kare.
actually, why are we together? You know, to me, human is a royal product. Ashraf al makhlukat, right? So if you want to go to buy a Rolls Royce, you're going to say, I want to get this Rolls Royce, and say, sorry, sir, this is not for you. This is for the person who has paid, actually. So you need to pay first, then we will start preparing it. So how can a royal product can be sent to this, and royal product of the Almighty, the Allah. So we are all the royal product. Every individual is very important. Without him or her, the specific things cannot be done. Therefore, you guys are here.
That's true, and I understand that as well, which is why in addition to that, where you actually said that, we are a very emotional nation, and I'm very sorry to say, but there's this clip which went viral on social media where one of the gentlemen is actually saying, sir, thoda Islamic touch bhi de de. Now imagine that, you've come down to a level where you certainly want to kind of just find a place in the heart of the people by using it as a
Cards,
tool. And I've seen so many stories, I've read so many papers where yes, this technique is actually used to
It
kind of
works
gain
as
more
well.
voters or probably more popularity as well. But this is something which I would rather kind of say is under the belt. Tactics like these,
Manipulative, you can
using on people who really barely go to school as well, or probably barely have the comprehension
Or
skills
who
too
are
as well.
following you blindly,
And imagine
just
what you're
because
doing to
have-
them.
yeah.
But I would like to think this thing or see this thing from another angle. In
Which is
history,
why we have you here.
exactly. The history says that many people have used religion for their political purposes, right? So maybe this is our turn now, but we need to think in a way that now we should understand our religion well ourselves. So nobody should mislead us. Our religion does not talk about intolerance. Our religion is sweet, they accept others. We win hearts, we win minds.
True peace.
So of course, so if somebody is really pushing you to burn things, to kill others, to demonstrate in a way that, as you said, the educational institutes are closed, roads are closed, then we need to think whether does it make sense. So we need to think that way. We should be, as a nation, as an individual, we should literate ourselves.
True.
Yeah, so that we are not misused.
Wonderful.
So Shahzad raised a very important question that now we see our ideologies are shifting, and when we see students or youth, it's Pakistani versus Pakistani. So how do you see that it is creating a lot of polarization?
This is a wonderful question. I would say what actually we think, we are fighting against enemy. So please, I would say, I would request to my nation, enemies are actually away from our borders. We are actually a family. We may have conflicts. So we need to, resolve it in a different way. We cannot say that this is a war. Sorry, wars are fought against enemies. We are a family. We have differences. We have to resolve it by dialogue, and then we need to stand against our enemy, which is actually outside. The problem happens when we are, as you said, polarized. Then the enemy gets a chance to invest on those people and use against you. So you can fight against the enemy who is outside borders, who is identified, but you cannot fight the enemy who is inside you, just beside you. So therefore, we need to learn now, not only the people, but also the state, the government, the politicians, the leaders, that we should really diffuse this polarization. We should tell them that, okay, we have political differences. It's not personal.
True.
It's never personal. We can have a difference of opinion. So whoever gets more votes has a right to govern. That's it. And then if he is not performing, the other person comes and says,
on
okay.
these basis, we are cutting ties. We are not talking to our relatives. We're finishing our friendships.
We're not even inviting them over for lunches or dinners as well, and it's because of the fact that they know, or we know, that we are going to end up in a conversation which is not going to have any result as well. And for all of those people who are out there, I think I have a very simple recommendation which we follow at our household, and that is that when we sit down at our houses, probably on dining tables or probably for lunch, people usually do start to talk about, the leader they love and the leader the other people love as well. So what I say is that, hey, with all of that conflict, with all of that conversation, we're not going anywhere. And, we're not the ones who are going to bring about change. But yes, we will, when we will go out, step outside to vote as well. So please bear that in mind as well. But thank you very much, sir, for joining us. It was wonderful to have you over here at the Sadr Gilani Sahab, and we will, inshallah, continuously have you over and over again to talk about different aspects of life as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've made absolute sense over here that, when we talk about leadership, when we talk about politics, ladies and gentlemen, I think what I've learned from politics is patience, tolerance, and coming together, sitting together and looking for a solution rather than making sure that, it's going to be chaotic out there for the rest of the public. I mean, please make sure that you don't do that, because in the first place, it's our country. We need to protect it. The way Islamabad was for the last 2 days, it was painful, it was hurtful, it was, I certainly do not have words to express the grief I felt, and it was just because of the fact that, you could have sat down, you could have, even the Prime Minister has invited you. They're open for negotiations.
And while Shehzad, we're busy in diffusing the situation and kind of, trying to resolve the conflict, there's so many things we're missing out on. We were in talks with the IMF. We had to show that we're a stable country. How can we show them that if we're busy doing this? And of course, meanwhile, our eastern neighbor got part of a trading alliance while we were busy doing this. And we also missed out on Mr. Yasin Malik handed over a life imprisonment. So why couldn't we go about those issues which were important and dominant for Pakistan? Why we kept busy in, in just, where did our 2 days go actually? They just vanished in thin air. Why?
Exactly. So please make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you decide wisely, and when you sit down on tables, please make sure that you do not argue about something with which you cannot, or probably in which you cannot bring about a change there and then. So please make sure that you kind of start to invite all of those people back. You might have had a rift because of the fact that you have had conversations where you were rather in love with a political figure, or the other person was in love with another political figure. Please make sure those differences are not there. And in the first place, it needs to be our country. It does not need to be any leader. It needs to be our country first, and then obviously we'll come down to point number 2 as well. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, imagine students not going to school, missing out their examinations. Imagine, they might not even get on time to their university. So there are a lot of problems. And not just that. Imagine while the kids are growing up, we know that under 5 years of age, 38% of the kids within Pakistan are stunted or malnourished as well. And when we talk about boy child or girl child, the figures are staggering and different too as well. So imagine for kids, it has been a troublesome month, but we're actually heading out towards a short break. When you guys will come back, we will be in conversation with a pediatrician and somebody whom we refer to as a dermatologist to talk about what kind of effects can actually be eliminated for all of those amazing babies who are out there, cute ones as well. Good morning. We're heading out towards a short break. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned to PT World. You're definitely watching World this morning alongside my very amazing and wonderful colleague who happens to be Miss Maheen Jaffrey, who just figured out that banana tea is actually going to help you sleep better as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. Earlier, ladies and gentlemen, we were in conversation with Sadhu Saab as well, where we did kind of talk about how such chaotic things will continue to take place. I think there will be an impact on economy, on our future generations. And yes, we're not thinking about the country in the first place, rather about the political leadership. I think we really need to set our minds straight. And now coming down towards where I said that 38% of the children over here in Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, are malnourished or stunted under 5 years of age as well. Imagine when we talk about girl child, I think that the percentage or the ratio is higher when we talk about the boy child as well. To talk about how to kind of look after babies, God forbid if they're malnourished, how to kind of get them better, how to kind of get them to be what they want to be in their lives as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who I refer to as a pediatrician in the first place. But before moving on to them, I would actually want to introduce somebody who would kind of talk about when, we have babies with birthmarks, when we have babies with some different allergies on the skin as well. Because skin, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be the largest organ on the body as well. So without any further ado, we're very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, that we've been joined by a skin specialist and an aesthetic physician who happens to be Dr. Amna Usman. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure being on the national TV and being energized in the morning by your energy.
Thank you very much, and it's likewise as well, ladies and gentlemen. It was really tough to get our hands onto Dr. Amna, and it's because
I'm
of the
so
fact
excited because she
happens to be one of the most renowned esthetician over here in the country as well. But without any further ado, moving on towards our other guest, ladies and gentlemen, once again happens to be a very renowned pediatrician. She happens to be Dr. Asma Haroon. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you, and we do love our babies, which is why we have you over here as well. So first things first, malnutrition, stunted growth, God forbid. How do we in the first place figure out that the baby might be malnourished or there's stunted growth?
We actually monitor babies right from their birth. But to correct this, like even before babies are born, the status of the mother is, it's very vital to be regularly monitored. Like starting from conception, regular antenatal checkups, then the mode of delivery, then throughout her pregnancy, the events are taking, whatever the events are taking place, and the mode of delivery, the cesarean, and post-birth care. All these factors are used to determine that. And after delivery, the baby's like their birth weight, if it's less than 2,500 grams, then they are more prone to malnutrition and infections and more sequelae.
Dr. Saba, what are the types of malnutrition and how can they affect babies even when they grow up, and when we talk about mother's feed or the formula milk?
Malnutrition is basically, it's a range. It's anything between undernutrition and overnutrition. Like it can vary from underweight, a baby who's underweight, to a baby that's overweight. And same applies to children of all ages, up to 18 to 19 years of age. And what do you want to ask?
Yeah, you were right. So when the babies are overweight, we refer to, or you refer to it as malnutrition. This is for the very first time that I heard it.
Yeah, I also heard it for the first time. How would it impact the child, maybe later in life, if not at that stage?
Yes, overweight, yes, it has many implications such as diabetes, hypertension, heart diseases. They start from this. And especially babies of diabetic mothers are prone to be overweight, and they've got many other anomalies as well. They might have cardiac defects, they have limb anomalies, they might have spine anomalies and bone defects.
Just because of malnutrition or the genetic factors?
Mostly because of the genetic factors, and babies of diabetic mothers I'm talking about. Yes. Right. The rest of the children, mostly in Pakistan, around 80% of the children are suffering from undernutrition. And malnutrition is basically, we divide it into two categories, primary and secondary. So primary is because of reduced intake of nutrients in the diet, and secondary is due to some diseases which is secondarily causing malnutrition.
And we will definitely come back to this, where I certainly want to ask you how to kind of make sure that our baby is going to grow up without being referred to as malnourished as well. But let me move on to Dr. Amna over here. So Dr. Amna, you know, when we talk about babies, obviously a lot of birthmarks. I'm glad I don't have any, you know, because the ID card people will always ask, yeah, Shanakhti alamat. So you know, and a lot of people do not actually feel very confident about their birthmarks as well, and they would certainly refer to a doctor of your stature to kind of get rid of
reading
those
the ID
birthmarks.
card,
Yeah.
mathe pe til ka nishan.
Yeah.
Mathe pe til. So, you know, what solutions do you have for all of those babies?
I mean, actually, yes. Initially, there was a time when parents will take their child to a doctor and he would say, you have to live with it because it can't be removed.
Yeah.
But for now, alhamdulillah, it's such a blessed time that we have lasers all in all installed to get rid of all sort of birthmarks. I mean, I'll take just a common names of birthmarks so that, you know, the people are aware of. That's the port wine, hemangiomas, moles, nevus,
Where are they,
nevus
though, by the way?
pilus, nevus anemicus. So there are a lot of nevi that can be removed with lasers. And mostly, like 90% of the moles can be removed, or not only moles. Moles are considered to be the only birthmark knowledge in the community.
Yes.
But then there are a lot others, like you might have seen a child growing up with the red mark here and a brown mark on the cheek and a mole that is covering holes, a half side of the body, and the red sort of patterned area. So there are a lot of
And we can get rid of all of that.
most of them.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
most of them.
But Dr. Amna,
With the
we're
lasers only.
Yeah, talking about moles, we've seen laser pens now available at home. You can buy them from, you know, AliExpress and so many other, you know, online trading companies. So,
Would you
is it-
recommend
Yes.
AliExpress and mole remover pens as well? I think that's
This
the
is
first
happening,
question.
yes.
Actually,
This is happening.
it's important that you're removing a mole because you're upset with this spot on your face or somewhere else. So if you remove it with any sort of instrument that you buy from online without any knowledge, having any knowledge, and you're using in your face and you're getting rid of the mole,
And you can
but
end
still
up-
end up in a scar, what's the fun of removing a mole? So I will always appreciate when using lasers or tools with the skin, always go to the experts who know it better,
Very
who know where to remove it, how to remove it. And one thing for sure, these tools, they're very cheap prices available on the AliExpress and Alibaba and whatever, but lasers can't meet these instruments can't meet the
Expectation of the person.
expectation with the lasers, because obviously laser is a huge equipment you have. It's a research based equipment advised, and it's a professional hand.
and
It's a
that
professional
too on certain frequencies that a
Yes,
normal
yes.
person cannot
And
use.
the pens are available. You can use it for a very tiny sort of stuff, but with the gross anomaly or with the gross imperfection on your face or somewhere else, don't take risk. I won't ask you to go for risk and leave your skin with a scar.
Thank you very much for saying that. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you back where Dr. Saiba was actually telling about, or in fact was sharing the names of all of those different birthmarks and moles as well. Because prior to this, I think over here in Pakistan, we've had interesting conversation. Naak ka til, hond ka til, mathe ka til, and on probably a mole somewhere on top of your lip was considered that all right, that the
Yes,
person is
exactly.
really beautiful
It
or
is still
something
now
of that sort as
considered
well.
as that.
But there has always been a shift, and when we talk about such shift, I'm glad that Dr. Saiba actually kind of mentioned that you really need to be at the hands of a professional rather than ordering it online and then trying it yourself
I'm
and
not
then going to
doing-
the doctor. "Pap, please, mujhe theek kar de."
Ending up
that's a
into the
shift
scar.
that yes.
I will add one thing
Sure.
more here.
Please.
I have seen a lot of people using toothpaste and some caustic soda and
Yeah,
some
this is-
morning show totkas. I'll apologize for this
That's
We
term.
don't do
I was
podcasts.
not-
Thank
But
you very much.
I'll appreciate if you can highlight this.
Sure.
I'll recommend people, the poor sweet people, don't use those chemicals right away on your face. Don't try to be a guinea pig to that experiment. There are a lot of pre-made formulas available in the market who have been made after a lot of research, and then they don't cause you harm. I mean, I've heard people using the lemon juice and onion oil and all. I mean, definitely the medicines are made of all these ingredients from the world, but extracting only the good part of the ingredient and using it on the skin, that's what the pharmaceutical industry is there for. So don't use raw materials on the skin. I've seen people using a lot of some chemical with some I don't know tuna
Caustic soda
tuna or caustic soda and all. They apply on their mole. It definitely removes the mole, but the amount of depth of hole it makes in your skin, that keeps on looking really bad and even worse than the mole you had.
Can it create
So-
cancer cells as well?
what?
You know something, yeah, like you're removing from something, a tag like on your skin without any, without any dermatologist's advice. Can it create something like cancer or something?
I'm not
Cells?
sure because it varies with area to area. So if you go in some zones where like Australia and other areas like that, there the skin cancers prevalence is a lot more than we have. So I don't think so a lot of stuff removed from the skin can cause cancers in our skins. But yes, if you go and live in other countries and you have the skins like them, so there can
If
be
you
chances.
keep on trying things yourself, ladies and gentlemen, God forbid, you are going to harm yourself as well, because you certainly do not have any idea what you've been up to as well. But going back to very quickly to Dr. Asma Saiba over here as well. So how do we get rid of a malnourished child, whether is overweight or probably underweight as well? How do we make sure that the babies are getting the right amount of nutrition? And then how do we make sure that they're going to have a very future, I think a blessed future ahead and a healthy one as well?
As I told you earlier, that the monitoring actually starts from the targeted population is the women of reproductive age. So we start screening from that end.
So we really need to look towards the mothers first.
Yes,
and then.
you start from the mother. Our basic targets are two: mother and the child.
All right.
So we start from the mother. We screen her regularly for iron deficiency anemia, which is very common in mothers, because most of the mothers are poorly educated and they come from a low socioeconomic class where their own nutritional status is very, very low. And secondly, the interpregnancy interval is really, really less in under this.
Especially in
under
Pakistan.
Especially in Pakistan. Yes, I'm actually focusing on Pakistan right now.
I've seen siblings
basic-
who are just like 9 months apart. Like, what were your parents doing, man? They were like, we certainly do not have any idea. Please go ahead.
And next is that lack of proper monitoring and healthcare facilities and neonatal care. That's a big issue. And secondly, delivery services that are not good as well. Next, we come to immunization status of the child. Most of this population is not even willing to get their children immunized. So then they get various infections and life-threatening conditions, which further reduces their health and lead to malnutrition. That is the reason for secondary malnutrition, which I talked about. And so these are the factors. If we improve them,
And in addition to that, just very
Yes.
recently, I heard it in the news as well that a lot of children are having gastric issues these days and are
Yes.
being hospitalized. Can you
Yes.
please shed some light onto that as well?
in young children, there's the basic cause is vitamin A deficiency is a major cause, and this is due to inadequate breastfeed to the child. So breastfeeding is very, very important, because it is very good for gastrointestinal mucosa and healing, and also healing respiratory issues. So once the child is born, early initiation of breastfeeding is very, very important to further boost up their immune system and just save them from malnutrition later in life. And then vaccination, as I talked about, and then exclusive breastfeed is recommended up till 6 months of age. After that, we recommend complementary feeding or weaning, कि ठोस ग़िज़ा शुरू कर दें बच्चे को. Or in case of some children whose requirement is more, we can even start at 4 to 5 months, because not every child has the same requirement.
Appetite, yeah.
So these are the issues. If we
Dr.
address
Asma,
them in time,
you were talking
they
about
can do it.
information that there is a lack of information in many mothers, and talking about
Yes.
training of mothers. The formula milk, if we talk about even middle class, that has become very
Yes.
a fancy
Yes.
concept. So what are we actually doing to train these
Exactly.
mothers? How important this could be for your baby in order for them to be safe from diseases or have a strong immune system, or maybe so that it doesn't
Exactly.
affect them later in life.
yes, a very good point you've raised, because many mothers are just for their own ease they are switching on to formula milk.
This is sad.
Yeah.
And latest researches on breast milk, it has revealed that it has got human milk oligosaccharides, which are specific to breast milk, and they are working at all the levels, starting from the brain, like head to toe. They are boosting your immune system. They are making your child's brain health and for mental and physical well-being. So breast milk has shown that it's working in all
Right.
sorts.
And I think we have been raising its importance as well. So
Yes.
for everybody who's out there, please make sure that if you kind of realize that it is
Yes.
really important, please share the word and make sure that you kind of go counsel your family members as well in order to do that if you want your kids to be healthy in future as well. But very quickly coming back to you, Dr. Amna, and very quickly because we're very short on time too. So imagine when your your immune system works absolutely wonderfully well. You get good nutrition, good health. Your hair is good as well. So I've seen a lot of babies having a lot of hair on their foreheads or probably face, and then with boy babies, I think people do not really kind of consider it a problem. Boy babies, yes. And with girl babies, I think that that the mothers are always very cautious.
Right from the beginning.
Iski to shadi karni hai, humne pata nahi. And
actually
I don't even get it. I think it's about time that people really need to kind of think about having their own careers. Maybe even if it's a boy child or a girl child as well, please.
Actually, yes. Now what we see is a lot of babies who are born having a lot of hair on their body and the face, and mothers do get worried, and it is a worrisome thing. You're having a newborn baby with a lot of hair on a body, and parents do bring their neonates to us for if lasers can be done and all. So primarily those baby hairs usually shed by certain age, and if they don't shed, we can take up the laser stuff, but that can be at the right age. That can be after maybe 15, 16 years of age. So my advice to all parents is wait and see if the hair don't shed, so then they can bring their child to a facility.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amna. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation. We will certainly be calling you all over again. Once again, probably in 2 weeks' time as well, to kind of talk about other issues related to health or babies as well. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, this is it for today. Please make sure to remember us all in your prayers. Look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.